Rain moving onshore from the Gulf across South Texas up into the coastal bend as a tropical disturbance arrives. Meanwhile, Erin's a hurricane. What's all that mean for us in Texas? Let's talk about it in this Friday edition of the Texas Weather Roundup. Hello, it's Friday, the 15th of August, 2025. I'm Texas Storm Chasers Baldy in Chief David Reimer. Thank you for taking time out of your busy days and your lunchtime to pop on in for a few Baldy in Chiefisms here on the Texas Weather Center. Let's go ahead and pop into it now. This is the radar at the time of recording this morning. You can see a big old area of rain moving onshore into the Rio Grande Valley, up the lower Texas Gulf Coast into the coastal bend. We've got some scattered showers and storms popping up in the coastal plains, southeast Texas, and eventually that activity will spread a little inland. Now, the hurricane hunters with this system known as Invest 98L made a pass through about an hour ago, so about 10:30 this morning. And they have found the system has not become any better organized and is on the coast. So the probability of this becoming a tropical depression is now quite low. So we are not going to have to deal with any sort of named system with this. But again, the impacts are not going to change anyway. We are expecting a pretty wet day in parts of the Rio Grande Valley and the Texas Gulf Coast and adjacent inland regions, with the potential for some heavy rain that could cause localized flooding. Heading into the rest of the day, we'll let the high-res rapid refresh radar loop load here. But, well, you can see we are expecting scattered showers and storms South Texas, the Rio Grande Plains, Rio Grande Valley, along the Texas Gulf Coast. You can see kind of that finger of convection spreading inland from the coast, the middle and upper Texas Gulf Coast this afternoon, moving into parts of southeast Texas, the coastal plains, the Brazos Valley. Southeast Texas, the Houston area. Could see some storms this afternoon. That activity with gusty winds, heavy rain. We could see some localized flooding. Heading into today and tonight, definitely going to have to watch the Rio Grande Valley, mcallen to Brownsville for that more steady area of heavier rains. We could definitely see some uptick in flooding potential there, and a flood watch is in effect for the Interstate 2 corridor from mcallen to Brownsville through this evening. We'll have to watch that. You can see tonight, it's not looking particularly active, and then tomorrow, the possibility of scattered pop-up thunderstorms during the peak heating hours of the afternoon across South Texas, Hill Country, Central Texas, the coastal plains. This model does have a few storms continuing into tonight in parts of South Central Texas and the Hill Country. We'll keep an eye on that. Locally heavy rain possible. Otherwise, definitely monsoonal moisture continuing in the borderland of far west Texas out into the Trans-Pecos, with the potential for locally heavy rain, gusty winds, lightning, and maybe some isolated flash flooding. Wildfire danger over the next few days from the Texas A&M Forest Service. Today, high fire danger in Panhandle, West Texas, down to the Permian Basin. On Saturday and Sunday, we're expecting generally moderate fire danger across most of the state. Now, here's the latest on Erin. It has become a hurricane and is going to be passing north of Puerto Rico, still with quite a bit of wave action. We are probably about to enter a more rapid phase of intensification, so maximum sustained winds are probably going to double over the next few days, above 140 miles per hour sustained. It's going to be some interesting satellite images, that's for sure. System moving northwest now at 18 miles an hour. We still do expect it is going to pass east of the continental United States, and at this point it looks like it's going to try to pass west of Bermuda, so it's kind of going to thread that angle pretty well, but it is going to become a very large and powerful hurricane, so we're going to have a lot of wave action on the Atlantic-facing eastern seaboard of the United States, a very high rip current danger, and probably some uptick in the potential for coastal flooding with a considerable amount of wave action heading into next week. We'll keep an eye on it, but at this point, this is looking like a fishy storm with still impacts impacting the eastern United States in the form of big-time waves. All right. So, what about the upper air pattern over the next week? Well, this is a look at 500 millibars halfway up the atmosphere, usually around 18,500 feet above sea level. This is where we have the jet stream. And you can see, as this restarts anytime now, heat dome kind of centered over us the next few days, but as we go into next week, that's going to shift back into the four corners, the western United States, allowing kind of a weakness, almost a little trough to set up just east of Texas, but what that could bring, some weak northerly flow aloft. We may see some uptick in shower and thunderstorm activity next week, and definitely the eastern half of Texas, we may not be as hot, meaning temperatures may fall off a few degrees. Good news is we don't see any indications of tropical mischief over the next 5 to 7 days in the Gulf, but we're going to have to keep a close eye on things just because it's that time of year. And we trust nothing. So we are going to definitely be very mindful of that. We are probably going to get busier heading into the next couple of weeks. The way weather models are looking, we may start having to deal with more systems. So the waters are warm, and at some point, we're probably going to get busy. It only takes one. So here's hoping that, well, we don't have to deal with any of that here in Texas, though we don't want anyone to have to deal with that. So, let's take a look. European weather model. Now, this does have scattered showers and storms, western third of Texas and the eastern quarter of Texas, Monday afternoon, Tuesday afternoon. You can see going into Wednesday, with that weak northerly flow aloft, we may actually start having to keep an eye out for some of these storm complexes up in the plains to move south, kind of down I-35 again, like we saw a couple weeks ago. So, as you can see, definitely not the most inactive pattern setting up for Texas next week, with, it looks like, daily chances for monsoonal pop-up storms during the afternoon and evening, the western third of Texas, and then, the typical eastern Texas coast pop-up afternoon storms, and then going into, Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday night, we may start seeing some of these storm complexes move south, and that pattern would probably continue into late next week. So we may end up switching into a bit more of a precipitous pattern, though that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be widespread rain. Everyone gets rain, that sort of thing. But it's definitely not shaping up to be the typical August we've dealt with over the last 5 years. That is hotter than a hot dog and drier than a popcorn fart. So that's good, at least. Today's high temperature forecast, it's hot. I mean, it's August. It's going to be hot. It's a few degrees above where we have been by the 30-year climatological mean. And with that, highs mostly in the upper 90s with some triple digits. The lesser of the hot, far west Texas into the Davis Guadalupe Mountains, highs in the upper 80s to low 90s. Saturday, same story. Sunday, temperatures bump up a couple degrees, starting to see a few more triple digits, 105 in Laredo. That's not a particularly pleasant experience. Heading into Monday, 102 in McAllen, 97 DFW, about 97 to 100 Waco, Austin to San Antonio. Mid to upper 90s everywhere else across the state. Going into Tuesday, you can see we start to drop off a degree or two, and that trend will probably continue into Wednesday and Thursday of next week. Here's the Long Range Climate Prediction Center temperature outlook. You can see really hot across the western United States. We're we're still, leaning warmer, but still, we're the lesser of the warm. So, hey, you know what? Optimism, right? And then precipitation outlook, you can see, it's about half and half equal, but maybe a little wetter than average for late August, which means, 5 raindrops typically. So, that's going to be it for your Friday edition of the Texas Weather Roundup. We're thankful we're not dealing with any significant tropical mischief on the Gulf at this point, but definitely still going to have to keep an eye on the rain heading into the Rio Grande Valley and deep South Texas. It is Friday, which means it's time to give a shout out to our Spinny Doomer members here on the David Reimer YouTube channel. Thank y'all very much for helping to support us and definitely for sticking around over the typically less active summer months. Anthony R. Pelosi Jr., Christina West, Deanna, Donald Yellett, J.A., Jennifer, Texas girl up north in Wyoming, one of our amazing moderators, Justin S., Love, Live, Laugh, Manda Cakes, yeah, let's actually say things right. It's not the easiest day for me, I'll be honest. Mandy Kim, Mike Rich, Nancy Rosenberg, Knight Davis, North Texas Weather, Paranoid Pocho, r/Tornado Chats, who is also one of our amazing moderators. His name is Scott. Rascal ZX2, Ryan Tucker, S00 Patik, Sarah Schmidt, Tanya McGee, and Wendy Hall. It was great to see some of y'all last Saturday, by the way, in Grand Prairie. That was fun. And we definitely thank y'all for sticking around. And we thank everybody who's been watching us here over the summer. And you know what? If you haven't already, click subscribe. It's free. And it helps us out here. And you know what? That's about all I've got to say today. So we'll keep an eye on things. We'll have updates going to this afternoon and evening for those storms popping up across the coast and the heavier rains moving into South Texas. We could definitely see a few flash flood warnings, but overall, we're not looking too bad heading into the weekend. You can always get your local weather forecast, interactive weather radar, daily Texas weather roundups, and more in the free Texas Storm Chasers mobile app. That's it. I'm done chit-chatting. Y'all have an amazing day. We'll keep an eye on things. Adios. Au revoir. I'll be your Zane.